Happy birthday, Mommy.
It's not Mommy's birthday yet. Mommy's birthday's after your birthday.
Happy birthday, Daddy.
Thank you, buddy. You just figured something out
Happy
there.
birthday. Happy birthday, Mommy.
It's not Mommy's birthday yet. But I'll take it. Soon we're going to say happy birthday, Alex. You're going to be 2 years old real soon.
Won't that be something?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, all.
Hey, did you just say happy birthday, Alex?
He said happy birthday to himself.
Yeah. It's Amanda. Hope you guys are having a great week. This is my update for pregnancy week 31. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of my new subscribers. We reached 100 subscribers this week. Woohoo! That's very exciting for a little YouTuber like me. So just wanted to thank you all for joining me on the journey and for all of your support. So this has been a crazy week. We thought that we were off the hook with neither Bill nor Alex getting sick after I had that norovirus stomach flu the other week. I was wrong. So I was downstairs editing my pregnancy tag video, which it's now up, you can go and watch that on my channel. And just as I finished editing that thing over the baby monitor, I hear Alex upstairs getting sick. So I'm like, oh no, here we go. And Bill wasn't home yet, and so yeah, so I had to go upstairs, and the poor kid had gotten sick all over himself, all over his crib, all over his blanket. Yeah, this is just one of those fun little realities of being a parent. Oh my goodness. So the poor kid was upset, and of course he wasn't feeling well, and I had to put him in his pajamas. I had to put him in the bathtub and like rinse him off, and oh my gosh, and I was like calling Bill, I'm like, come home now, please come home now, because the poor kid was screaming. I had to figure out before Bill got home, like, how am I going to deal with this? So I bathed him, put a bunch of towels out, put him down in front of the couch. So I put on a baby Einstein for him because he loves his baby Einstein. And, you know, let him watch that while I went and dealt with it. And Bill came home, and oh my goodness, what an ordeal that was. Sorry if that's like TMI, gross information. But, you know, it's just one of those little things that you have to deal with when you're a parent. It took like an hour and a half to get everything all cleaned up and get him back to sleep. Bill rocked him back down to sleep. Then like 5 minutes after he puts him back down, again, it happens again. So we have to do this all over again and clean him up again, change his sheets again. Oh my god, we had at least put like towels down and stuff this time, but oh my gosh. Poor Alex didn't get back to sleep until like, it was like 2 in the morning, and Bill and I, you know, after finishing, you know, doing like 3 loads of laundry and, you know, showering ourselves, and oh, it was crazy. We finally got to sleep at like 3:30 in the morning. It was nuts. And this was a weeknight. So after going to sleep at 3:30 in the morning, thankfully Alex didn't get sick anymore after that. Thank God. but every little noise he made in his sleep, it was just like mother instinct. I was like, I'm awake, you know, like ready to deal with it. He like turned in his sleep and made some little fussy noise at like 5 in the morning, and I was awake and I could not get back to sleep. So basically I slept for an hour and a half that night, and oh my gosh, I was so exhausted. And so thankfully I asked Bill, can you please stay home today, because I can't function. I cannot function on an hour and a half of sleep. And you know, like, our moms didn't want to come over because they didn't want to get the bug, and I understand. I wouldn't want to pass that along to them either. And I had my ultrasound that day. So thankfully, Bill stayed home so I could sleep a little bit and go to my appointment, and oh my gosh, it was a crazy week. But I think we're past it, knock on wood. The good thing about little kids is that they're so resilient and they get over these things really fast. And so, you know, the worst of it was just over that night. He just had some, you know, lingering diaper issues for a couple days after, but he's like totally normal, back to himself now. So thank goodness that is over, because that wasn't fun. And so I am just praying to God that we do not get any more sickness before this baby comes. I am so over dealing with sickness, seriously. Like, I don't want to be sick. I just hope Bill doesn't get it. I think he's okay because he's managed so far to not get this thing, and he has a really tough immune system, so I think he's gonna be okay. God, enough with the sickness, like, I'm done. Like, let's just be healthy until this baby girl arrives. Anyway, so moving right along. So let's talk about pregnancy this week. I actually have a lot to update you on. So, first of all, I had my midwife appointment last week, and it was just the routine appointment that I had scheduled for the previous week that I had to reschedule because I was sick. And so, yeah, and when I went there, there was a lady who had been in labor for like over 24 hours in one of the birthing rooms there. And so all the midwives were like, you know, scrambling around and, you know, still trying to get through all of their, you know, like taking turns getting through the clients who were coming for their appointments for the day, like me. And so it was just a real short and sweet appointment. Asked all my questions. She did feel my belly and confirmed, as I suspected, that baby girl is breech. She's like, she felt the top of my belly. She's like, oh yeah, that's a head. And so I was like, I thought so. So anyway, but she said, you know, what she's seen, you know, the vast majority of babies turn on their own, you know, by the like she said, like 75% of them turn on their own by the 36th week or so. So she said, don't worry about it too much. So that was that. But let me tell you a little story about my experience while I was at the midwife. So I arrived there and I was running just like a minute or two late, and I was trying to get in time, which ended up not being a big deal anyway because they were running behind because of this labor. Anyway, on the way, I had stopped suddenly and all the stuff that was in my seat had like fallen down on the passenger side floor. So I'm like, okay, now that I'm stopped, I need to like go around and like pick that stuff up and like grab my purse and go in. And so that's what I did. And so I closed the door behind me, and then I had this sinking feeling. I was like, oh no, I just locked my purse and my keys in the car, didn't I? So I walk around to the passenger side and I try to open it. I was like, oh. It was locked. And so, so I go inside and I ask, you know, the front desk, I was like, can I use your phone? I just locked my keys in my car and I need to call my husband to come rescue them. So they're like, oh yeah, of course. And I call, and Bill is in a meeting. And so while I'm waiting, like a half an hour goes by, I call again, he's still in his meeting. I'm like leaving him frantic messages because I'm stuck at the midwife. Thankfully, Alex was at home with my mom, so he was safe and sound. And so I can't get a hold of Bill, and so I'm like, I wonder if I just left the driver's side open, because sometimes like when you just hit, you know, the little keyless entry thing, when you hit the unlock button, it just unlocks the driver's door unless you press it twice, then it unlocks all the doors. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if if the driver's side was open, but the passenger side was locked. I'm like, I better check. And so I go out, I open the door. Sure enough, all that time the driver's side had been open. And so I grab my phone And I'm like, okay, now I can clean up the little mess from the passenger side and grab my purse. I hit what I think is the unlock button on the door so I can go around to the other side. Go around to the other side, it's locked. And I'm like, oh crap. Turns out I didn't hit the unlock button, I hit the lock button. Yeah. So, oh my god. So while my keys were not actually locked in the car before, I now locked them into the car. At least I had my phone with me this time and I didn't have to, you know, use their phone because I had just grabbed my phone. Oh my gosh. I felt like such an idiot. And so finally I go in, I have my appointment, I'm still trying to call Billy, still in his meeting, and then by the time I'm done with my appointment, I call him again and he finally answers, and I was like, oh, thank God you were answering the phone. And I told him what was going on, and so he's like, okay, I'm going to come. And, you know, he had to go home first because his copy of the key was at home. He doesn't carry it unless he's driving my car. So he had to go home first, get the key, then drive over to the midwife and come and rescue me. So I basically was just sitting there for an extra 2 hours because of pregnancy brain. Yeah. I could not believe that that happened. I just felt so stupid. And oh my gosh. Yeah, pregnancy brain still happening full force. It is seriously for real. And I felt like so stupid at the time, but I was like, you know what? Looking back, I'm just gonna laugh on this. This is just like one of those not so stellar moments in my life that I can chuckle on later, you know. What can you do? So anyway, moving right along. While I was at the midwife, I had to reschedule my glucose test. I've talked a lot about my glucose test. I was supposed to have it earlier. I was actually supposed to have it at the previous appointment the week before when I was sick, and so obviously that didn't happen. So they're like, well, how about you come in tomorrow morning? And so I worked it out so that my dad could come up and watch Alex while I did this, and I told her about my worries about the sugar reaction that I have and why I was worried about taking this, and she's like, you can opt out of taking it if you want to. It's, you're pretty low risk for it. I don't suspect that you have gestational diabetes. The only problem is if, when you're in labor and you transfer to the hospital, they won't let the hospital midwives attend to you. They have to have legally they have to have an OB attend to you. I was like, well, that's probably if I'm going to the hospital I'd need an OB anyway, but then I was like, whatever, you know what, I'll just take the test. It's just better to know. I'll just suck it up and deal, So I scheduled it for the next morning. So the way my midwife does it is a 2-hour test. A couple years ago they decided not to do the 1-hour test and then the 3-hour test anymore. They just have one 2-hour test now, which is comprehensive. So that's what I did. I went in at 10 o'clock the next morning and I had to fast the night before. She told me to just eat a really proteiny snack right at midnight because then I couldn't eat again after midnight. So that's what I did. I had a bowl of cottage cheese and fruit, and then I had a bowl of grape nuts too. So I was so full. It was kind of ridiculous. And but I think that really did help because I wasn't absolutely starving when I woke up since I had such a heavy snack at midnight. So anyway, so I went in and they did my blood draw and then had to drink the nasty, it was a lemon lime. It actually wasn't orange. She said you have the option of lemon lime or orange, and got the lemon lime. So so it actually didn't have any artificial colors in it, so I was happy about that. So drank this thing down and it was really sweet and nasty, but dealt with it. After that I started feeling a little woozy. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't have the allergic reaction that I have to refined sugar that I thought I was going to have. Maybe it's because glucose is a different form of sugar than cane sugar or high fructose corn syrup, those kinds of things. Because it's glucose instead of fructose or something. And so thankfully I didn't have that reaction. So that was the biggest thing I was worried about, and that didn't happen. So thank God for that. But I did feel a little woozy just because I hadn't eaten, in almost, I guess it had been about almost 12 hours at that point. And I was starting to get really hungry and a little bit lightheaded, and I had just had this sugary drink. And so the midwife was so sweet about it. She's like, That's actually pretty common. We actually have a little room over here. If you want to lie down, you are totally welcome to. During your 2-hour wait, you can just lie in this little room. I was like, okay, I'll do that. I'll take a little nap. Why not? And it was just so nice. This little bonus room that they have at the birth center is just like, it's like a little bed and breakfast in there. They have this little twin-size bed with a rocker in there and a little lamp and, you know, nice quilt bedspread. And it's just so cozy in there. She's like, oh, here's the Wi-Fi code if you want to, you know, browse the internet on your phone or stream music or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. Like, I don't feel like if I were at the hospital that I would have gotten like that level of pampering and care. It was so nice because I got to lie down for most of that 2-hour wait and I dozed for a while, and when I woke up I actually felt a lot better, like the wooziness had gone away. And so it was just actually a nice little retreat kind of. I just kind of got to hang out in this cozy little room and nap and browse Facebook, you know. So it was nice. I mean, so it was as nice as could be expected for doing a glucose test. You know, I had prayed about it before and I'm like, oh Lord, please don't make this that big of a deal, you know, just help me get through this. And I really feel like that was an answered prayer because it ended up not being a big deal. And I was like, oh, I had so much worry about this for nothing and it ended up being fine. So I'm really glad that that went well, and they were so sweet, and they did, you know, the blood draw at 1 hour and then again at 2 hours, and they're like, you're free to go, and I went home. And then they said, you know, if we don't call you, no news is good news. And so, and I never got a phone call, so that means I do not have gestational diabetes. Like I said, I would have been shocked if I had it, just considering how little refined sugar and, you know, refined grains that I eat. So, yeah, so not a big surprise, but I am glad that I did it, just so I know for sure that I don't have gestational diabetes. Yeah, so 3 big appointments this week. Midwife, glucose test, and then Friday I had my ultrasound. And that was the day after the whole sickness with Alex the night before, so I was so exhausted when I went, but I'm still glad that I was able to go. Bill wasn't able to come with me this time since he was staying home with sick Alex. But it ended up working out just fine. You know, they give you a DVD of the ultrasound. At the place I go, they give you a DVD. So I was able to show Bill later anyway. The ultrasound also confirmed what the midwife said, that yes, she's breech. They actually saw in there that she's frank breech, and there are a few different kinds of breech. I think I explained this in the last update as well, but you know, normal breech is like when their legs are folded in the fetal position. Frank breech, which is what she was in the ultrasound, so rather than their legs being tucked in the fetal position, their legs are like straight up and their feet are by their head, and that was the position she was in. And I had actually been a little concerned, you know, a day or two before, because I had been feeling these, you know, sweeping movements of limbs across my belly, and that stopped, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope she's okay. But my theory now is that once she got herself in that position, it was getting difficult for her to move her legs around. And so I was like, I think that's why, and I think that makes sense. So anyway, and they checked checked brain and heart again, and she was looking very healthy. She had a strong heartbeat that was in the like 160s or something, so a nice strong heartbeat. So yeah, it was actually a pretty short, uneventful ultrasound. So obviously the main reason I went in was to check on my hematoma, and they did find it was even smaller than last. It was still there, but still shriveled up and way in the back out of the way, just like last time, but even smaller. So that was excellent news. You know, the doctor there said, yeah, it's probably just going to be this weird little thing that comes out when you give birth. And so,
Sit on mommy.
Sit on mommy. Yes. And look who I have with me again today. You came to say hi, huh?
Hi, TV.
You say hi, TV. You say hi, YouTube.
Hi, TV.
So at my ultrasound, they also measured her growth and everything. So at the last ultrasound, her growth had been somewhere in the 70-something percentile, and this time it was in the like 40s. It was like 43rd percentile. I mean, which is, you know, it, you know, is a matter of ounces. It's, you know, not that big of a deal, but she definitely was, you know, percentile-wise, slightly smaller than last time, and they said that that could have very well been because I was sick and wasn't eating for a few days and because I had lost weight. So that confirmed for me that it was good, that I did have the reserves that I did. Make it go two. Look. Two. And so that confirmed for me that it was good that I did have the reserves that I did from my weight gain up to that point, because I really do think that it helped her, you know, stay in a nice, healthy range, because she was still in, you know, well within the normal range for growth. So even though it was lower than last time, so I was glad to hear about that. So the only other thing they noticed was that my amniotic fluid levels were slightly low. And they said that that was probably also because I was sick and dehydrated for a while. And that could have caused my fluid levels to be a little bit low. It wasn't like dangerously low or anything. It was still within the normal range, just the very low end of normal. So basically they were encouraging me to up my protein levels, you know, for her growth, and to up my fluid levels for the fluid. So I'm going to be doing that. Yeah, I'm going to be trying to drink more water. It's, you know, I feel like I do a decent job of that, but I still could be doing better. So I'm going to be trying to be thinking about that and being conscious of that. And, you know, just whenever I think of it, drink some water. And maybe carry water bottle around with me, something to remind myself. If my fluid levels go up, that will actually help her to turn head down, because it's like when you're have more space in a swimming pool, there's more space to do a somersault, right? Because it's not quite so cramped, because there's more fluid in there. So another reason that I'm really trying to drink a lot of fluids right now. All good news, as good a news as could be expected for the ultrasound. So I did at that point decide that I wanted to start doing a little more research on getting a breech baby to turn. And so I went onto the Spinning Babies website and I did some reading on there. And yeah, I think I mentioned last time, Spinning Babies has a lot of information on how to, you know, get good positioning of baby for birth. They have a whole section on how to turn a breech baby. And so basically their ideas were getting in a position such that your butt is like way elevated above your head, which kind of lifts baby out of the pelvis and allows them to move a little bit more freely. So you can either do that just by, you know, leaning over and putting your butt up, or like getting up on a couch or like on stairs and like getting even lower, so that there's, you know, more of an incline in your back. And then, you know, they talk about all the other things you can do, like the Webster technique, chiropractic, acupuncture. Anyway, so I actually, a couple times a day now, have started doing the inversions, where I at least just get down and put my butt in the air. And after the very first time I did this, like, all of a sudden I started feeling more movement in my belly. You know, since I said it seemed like since she got into that frank breech position, she wasn't able to move quite as much. I think what happened was me doing that just that one time was enough to release her legs, at least. I don't think that it made her turn. I can still feel a little hard spot, which I think is her head up top. But I think it freed her legs, because from that moment on, I've started feeling those like foot movements again and those arm movements again a lot more. So I was like, well, at least that's a start. It'll give her more of an ability to wiggle, I guess. So I'm going to be trying to just do those inversions a couple times a day. I would like to get into a chiropractor. It's just a matter of working it all out with childcare and the number of appointments I can do with the childcare that I have. And so it's going to be finding a balance. The other thing that you can do is go to a swimming pool and do handstands in the swimming pool, or do, you know, like flip turns in the swimming pool. So I would like to try that at least once as well. I'll have a couple days, these coming up weeks, that my mother-in-law will be watching Alex, so I think I might get to the pool and try that as well. So anyway, that's my plan for hopefully getting baby girl to turn head down. I'm going to try everything I can. I know she still has plenty of time, and, you know, like the midwife said, spontaneously, most babies will actually turn on their own by 36 weeks. So I'm just doing what I can to like nudge her along, you know. And I know there's plenty of time, so I'm not too worried about it yet at this point, but definitely going to start doing some things to help. So anyway, those are like the big updates for this week. There were a lot of them, I know. Just a couple small things. I really think that my abdominal muscles are separating even further. I've had a few days this last week when I could feel just like this bit of an ache, like all the way down the middle, like exact middle of my belly. And so I'm pretty sure that's what that is just my abdominal muscles separating even further than last time. Oh boy. And I got my first stretch mark. I still don't have any on my belly. You know, I've mentioned before that, you know, I think it's genetic since my mom didn't have any, and just, you know, eating a lot of really healthy fats, I really think helps keep the tissues like supple from the inside. And I think that's helping. So I still don't have any stretch marks on my belly. But I did find one it's like tiny little stretch mark on my hip. And so I guess I can say I have one new stretch mark now, but like you can barely even notice it. And then in terms of weight gain, since I have been completely better, eating normally again, fully hydrated again, my weight has finally like returned to about where it was before I was sick. So that's good. I am now up about, you know, I had lost like 4 pounds when I was sick, and now I'm back up. So now I have gained a total of 36 pounds. So, I guess my weight gain is back on track. I checked my journal for where I was with my last pregnancy at 31 weeks, and I had gained 42 pounds in my last pregnancy. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing 5 pounds better still than this last pregnancy, thanks to this little stomach bug. Anyway, so that is it for this week, you guys. Let me show you my belly. Here's the belly for week 31. Front and side. Alright, that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to all of you who have been subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to do so below, as I'll be continuing to have more updates and fun upcoming videos. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And hope you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week in my next update. Take care, you guys. Bye.